I've been trying to make this video for many days now, but it's not easy. I'm not sure about the argument I'm making here, but here it goes. In the summer of 2015, I was a tourist for the first time. I was 27 and had just moved to Austria to start a master's program. A friend asked me to join her on a train heading for Maribor in Slovenia. That was the first time that I experienced Europe's open borders. And then I went crazy. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the amount of waste we've all made in our 20s. Let's just take a moment for that. When I first came to Europe, I had enough money to cover my living expenses for 3 years. That was one more year than I needed to finish my studies. But I managed to burn through most of that money within half that period. So I had to take a job, which slowed my university progress, making it even more costly by having to pay extra tuition fees. I don't know what I was thinking, if I was thinking. All I know is that my foolishness had dire consequences on my life for years. One lesson that I learned from that experience, though, was never to pursue tourism in a UNESCO World Heritage Site ever again. Until last week. My in-law was in town for Easter, so Sarah suggested we drive to Carlsbad, a fancy city in the Bohemian part of the Czech Republic. It's one of the places where the Austro-Hungarian aristocracy used to enjoy themselves back in the days. Now, if there's a bigger mistake than tourism in yet another European World Heritage Site, that would be rejecting women's wishes to go there. So I went with the flow. The city was meant to please some of the world's most influential people of the time. It had to look beautiful. It's a place that influential people still visit even today. Walking around there for hours, however, did not make me happy. It made me tired. When we finished the tour, we had to get dinner, which was when I could finally influence the direction of the trip. With the help of Google Maps, we found a good Slavic restaurant on our way back in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know what to expect, but to our surprise, it was located within a historical site that had a fort and a beautiful landscape. I didn't see any tourists there, only locals and a couple of bikers, maybe because it was getting late. It was very peaceful though, and the restaurant itself was incredible. It had a very nice atmosphere, and the decor was quite interesting. The food was good, made with care. If you're ever in the region, the restaurant's details are in the description below. On the next day, I had to travel alone this time to the North Rhine-Westphalia. It was a trip that I had postponed for nearly 2 years to one of West Germany's most populated regions. There is this crescent of urban areas parallel to the Belgian and Dutch borders that include major cities stretching from Bonn, what used to be the West German capital, all the way to Dortmund, which I think is mostly industrial. These cities combined arguably make Europe's largest metropolitan area. My goal was to see how it would feel like to live there, even for just 2 days. My first day in Bonn was peaceful. The city is not too big or too small. People seem to be chill and spread out. I had the most fun by the river. I think I spent 4 hours there just watching the timeless flow of the water. That was real quality time for me. On the next day, I went to a bigger city, 3 times the size. This is Cologne, one of the largest cities here in the region. The first thing that you notice in the city is right off the train station. There's this huge, ugly cathedral. What I did was to try to get away from that as much as possible. It's right over there, across the river. I went on Google Maps and looked for a good coffee house outside the center, and it brought me here. That gives me the chance to see what a real Cologne neighborhood looks like, feels like, smells like. How people here interact with each other, how they play with their kids. This is not a real social experience, but it's a real first impression of that experience. And I'll probably get much better coffee than anything I could have in the city center. So there's that as well. I'll go get that coffee, and I'll see you later. I was not too fond of Cologne. It's too big, too dirty, and too chaotic. The city that interested me the most was Duisburg. It's beautiful, green, well organized, and has a modern layout with a vintage touch. It has an impressively spacious marketplace. I arrived there late, so most shops were closed, but I was still impressed with how new and comfortable it all felt. I came across a camera shop in the center, which is something that always excites me. I'm a camera guy. Though I was disappointed not to see any of the cameras that I own on display. And this is not the first time. I've been to camera shops even in bigger cities, and they rarely have the gear that I need. If they do, it's usually a lot more expensive than anything I could get online. And this is the point of this whole video. Once you've gone online, it's really difficult to go back to the city. And the whole world has gone online. I've recently moved to Hof, a small city of 40,000 people who live on the verge of what used to be the Iron Curtain. When I look out of my window, I see the last stretch of West Germany that meets the corner between the German Democratic Republic and Czechoslovakia. Wind turbines have now replaced the Iron Curtain. The Cold War here is over. Hof is a beautiful city with very friendly people. It's clean, it's green, and it's peaceful. It has good roads and good infrastructure. I'm the poorest I've ever been in my life, yet I can still afford the most comfortable housing I've ever had. It doesn't bother me to live on the margin. I don't feel disconnected. The internet makes it easy for me to be here. I can't think of a single thing that a big city could offer me today, which is not available here. Now, don't get me wrong. I still get very lonely sometimes. Yet again, I've never felt less lonely in bigger cities, mainly because these cities are no longer the same. Hof is a city, and it has city things in it. But I don't really need any of these things. I've lived here for 2 months now, and still haven't been to the city center. The internet decentralizes the world. That's the whole point. It transforms you from being a citizen in your city to being your city's citizen everywhere else. Think about it. There is no such thing as Times Square on the internet. That is just us, scattered, fragmented, sometimes even lost, but trying to be connected. So, stay connected. Let me know what you think in the comments. Where do you live? How does it feel being there? Do you have any questions? So let me hear from you until I see you again in the next video.